On to a big story. This Wednesday broadcast in a Zoom call that has further complicated the already complicated South Asian political landscape. Bangladesh's exiled former PM Sheikh Hasina unleashed a storm of accusations against interim government led by Muhammad Yunus, calling him a mobster and even claiming he has unleashed terrorists upon her nation. Now, Hasina vowed to return and avenge the death of our policeman. With the scars of last year's student uprising still fresh, Hasina recalled the tragic killings of 4 policemen, blaming Yunus for masterminding the bloody events that led to her ouster. "I will return and ensure justice for all of you," she declared with an unwavering resolve. Her words a promise to confront the chaos she believes Yunus has unleashed. Listen in. Well, for more on this story, I'm joined by my colleague Gaurie Dwivedi. Gaurie, given the gravity of Hasina's accusations, do you think it is only Yunus's government responsible actually for the violence, or could there be other more sinister forces in this case at play in the volatile political situation?
Arjun, a large part of the blame of what Bangladesh has really become right now rests with Muhammad Yunus. He is the head of the interim government. It's been over 6 months. And the country is nowhere close to achieving the kind of normalcy that one had hoped that the country would achieve. The turmoil, which started with student revolution, really quickly snowballed into something much bigger. And since then, the complete collapse of the law and order and the administrative machinery is something that rests solely on Muhammad Yunus's desk. However, as far as some of the other forces that you mentioned, one needs to keep in mind there are a lot of these radical Islamist extremist elements that are not part of Muhammad Yunus's government, but have been very important in the turmoil in the last 6 months. And they've played a very important role in how Bangladesh has really shaped up into the kind of chaos that it finds itself in. Whether it is the Jamaat-e-Islami, whether it is radical elements within the BNP as well, all of them are forces that are at play. So, of course, a lion's share of the burden does rest on Professor Yunus's desk, but one cannot rule out the role that some of these other extremist elements have played. And that is something that Muhammad Yunus has not been able to address so far.
Gaurie, speaking about the international community, which has been very active and vociferous, if I may say, on this story, how do you assess the international community's reaction to these ongoing tensions between Yunus interim government and former PM Hasina?
Arjun, a lot has changed ever since the student revolution started on 5th of August. What has changed is there's now Mr. Trump who is in power, and there is now Tulsi Gabbard, who is the head of the intelligence agency at US. She's been more than once, she's publicly spoken about how Bangladesh's dissent has really been exacerbated in the last couple of months. She's spoken about the plight of Bangladeshi Hindus who've been at the receiving end of one of the most horrific crimes that Bangladesh has seen in the last couple of months. Those are very important extraneous factors that will have an impact on Bangladesh's future from here on. What happens between India and Bangladesh is a bilateral issue. There are several issues that the two sides are trying to address. Remember, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri did go a couple of weeks back to Bangladesh on a one-day visit to try and iron out some of these issues that have sprung up in a bilateral relationship, which ideally must survive regimes. It should be agnostic to regimes. But some of these external factors, as I mentioned, whether it is the Trump administration, whether it is Tulsi Gabbard, who's going to really lead the intelligence apparatus at America, is going to have an impact on Bangladesh going forward, hopefully for the better. It will hopefully exacerbate the electoral roadmap that Yunus has spoken about several times, but hasn't really moved forward on.
Of course, thank you so much for your inputs, Gaurie. And what she said, sticking points, still a lot of sticking points there. Meanwhile, listen in to what Hasina has said.
ইনশাআল্লাহ প্রত্যেকটা পরিবারের যা যা লাগে সব সহায়তা আমি দেব আর হত্যাকারীদের বিচারও করব বোধহয় ওই জন্যই বোধহয় আল্লাহ বাঁচিয়ে রেখেছে আমাকে সেটাই আমি মনে করি কাজেই আমি এটুকু তাদেরকে কথা দিতে পারি যে এই ধরনের অপরাধে যারা জড়িত ষড়যন্ত্রের সাথে জড়িত এবং এখন পর্যন্ত দেশকে যারা জঙ্গির দেশে পরিণত করে একের পর এক মানবাধিকার লঙ্ঘন করে যাচ্ছে তাদের বিচার বাংলা মাটিতে হবে এবং আগামীকালের